Hey, y'all, I'm Bud Elliott, and this is Cover 3 College Football Summer School. We've done our research on the teams, and now we're bringing on the top team experts from the 24/7 Sports Network to help us fill in the blanks. Please follow us on Twitter at Cover 3 Podcast. That's Cover 3 Podcast. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. All right, class is in session. All right, guys, welcome back in here to the Cover 3 Podcast, joined by my man in the Michigan market from the Michigan Insider, Sam Webb. Sam is the guy to go to in Michigan. That's why we have him on the show. Dude, welcome back.
Hey, Bud. Glad to be back, man. Had fun last time around. Hopefully, this could lead to a similar circumstance when it comes to interest and newsworthy items here in this next year cycle. So, last year was a good luck charm. Hopefully, it's the same way this year.
And I have some crow to eat on Michigan before we start this. I said I had trouble trusting Michigan, trusting Harbaugh, because I felt like they were gaming the power rating system. Like they'd crush these bad teams, and then when they got in the big game, somehow they'd find a way to kind of mess it up. And you know what? It made me look like an idiot last year because they went out and they smacked Ohio State and really played. They played to their numbers and even exceeded their numbers. So I was wrong on that, Michigan fans. You all were right for keeping the belief, assuming you all did. Now, I've seen the message board at times, some people, but most I think still kept the belief. Maybe being a Michigan man there gets you a little more leeway than otherwise would have. So this is kind of the Bud offseason homework series where I kind of look at my stuff and I try to fill in the blanks. So first up for you, Sam, is there anything that you're expecting different on offense due to the change in coordinator? Obviously, Josh Gaddis goes to Miami. Now Michigan's working with co-coordinators. Is there anything you think that's going to be really different as a coordinator change result?
It's hard to say, Bud, stylistically, what the imprint of the new guys is going to be. I think there was going to be a difference even if Josh Gaddis came back, because the offense is going to have to be more explosive. Now, mind you, they were an explosive offense last year, but they were much more methodical in leading up to that explosiveness. I mean, they did a good job in chunk plays of 50 yards or more. But I think the passing game, the downfield, the vertical passing game is going to have to be more potent this year. The quick strike ability is going to have to be more pronounced this year. And that puts a lot more stress on the quarterback. Josh Gaddis made a concerted effort to be less quarterback dependent last year. I think that was about playing to the strengths of the offense, that being the offensive line and the tailbacks, but also to not put so much pressure on the quarterback. I mean, you got to keep it all in context and perspective. The year prior, they tried to get Joe Milton because Joe Milton looked so good in practice. He had this big arm. He was this blessed athlete. And I think they tried to force feed his development. And the biggest, I think, learning element from that season for Josh Gaddis was, you got to coach to the strengths of the guys as opposed to, coaching to what you want to do schematically. You got to be able to marry the two better, and he did that in a splendid way last year. And I think these guys are going to take a page from that book, in that the running backs are still probably the best part of this offense, and the offensive line is going to be a strength again. But now you got a quarterback contingent with some experience. Cade McNamara quarterbacked the team to a Big Ten championship. J.J. McCarthy, now he's gotten his feet wet, and you want to see what he can do. And I think you could put more of the burden for offensive explosiveness on the quarterback this year.
And particularly one of the areas I want to see Michigan improve this year, if they're going to have another season like they just had, which was a pretty magical run, is the ability to convert third and long, right? From the passing game when they're not specifically in play action type stuff, right? Like they were really good at hitting those explosive plays when the defense was thinking run. Mm-hmm. I want to see the conversions more down the field when it's 3rd and 7, when it's 3rd and 8. And I mean, Sam, I look at this. This should be one of the best receiving corps in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
We talk about Ohio State, and that's fair, but Roman Wilson's going to be back healthy, we assume, right?
Yeah. I mean, you start with Ronnie Bell, who was lost in the first game last year.
Excuse me, Ronnie Bell, not Wilson.
Yeah. He's looking like he was looking like he was going to be a big time guy for Michigan. Like he was going to take that step. He goes down and they fill it by committee, but I thought you saw the emergence of a number of guys who are poised to take steps forth this year. Cornelius Johnson is an experienced guy with years under his belt in his senior year, a speed guy, a long guy. Roman Wilson might be the fastest guy on the team. We saw Andrew Anthony, who brings that size speed contingent. He went for 80 yards in that opening series versus Michigan State, right? And then you bring in these freshmen. You look at a guy like Darius Clemens, who was a standout in the spring game. They're so deep at receiver now that Mikey Sainristil, a guy who's a slot and maybe their most physical receiver despite his diminutive size, they're playing him at DB now. So they
have like a nickel or a slot or something?
Like a nickel. Yeah,
he's
gonna, and I think they think he's gonna be able to really contribute there. Still gonna play receiver too, but they think he's really gonna be able to contribute a nickel. If you don't have the depth of receiver, you don't do that. That's why, again, everything around the quarterback now is established. Last year, not so much. You had talent, but it wasn't talent that had come to the fore as you can lean on it. Like this is a strength. Teams are going to have to try to figure out how they're going to stop it. You have that now. So the onus is on the quarterback, I think, to raise the level of play at that position to where now, that's the quarterback is the catalyst. And that's to your point about 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and long. That's a quarterback down where, hey, he has to find a guy. He might have to squeeze it in the window. He might have to improv a bit and make a play on the move. That's what we want to see from the quarterbacks this year. I think from a outside perspective to see if they've really taken that next step as an offense.
For sure. I know a couple guys on the UVA staff. They told me that Oluwatimi is a stud. So I assume we don't need to worry about the offensive line. Like they're going to be good there again.
Yeah, I think so. I think, as a matter of fact, with Oluwatimi, I think they're going to take a step forward. And I don't think, this is not to disparage Andrew Vistardis, who I thought did a really good job, former walk-on center who rose up and really was a good anchor in the middle. I thought he was better than I expected him to be blocking on the move. So pretty mobile, but strength at the point of attack wasn't his strong suit, pun intended. It is for Oluwatimi, and he brings even better mobility. I just think that element of their team, getting outside on stretch plays, for instance, and he's just as smart. I just think they're going to take a step forward. They do have to replace their right tackle, but they're doing so with the former Under Armour All-American and Trente Jones, who was their extra tight end last year. Got to figure they're going to be strong there too. They don't expect to take a step back at all on the offensive line.
I figure if this team has a chance of replicating last year. So last year they were, I think, 19th in SP plus offense and 10th in SP plus defense. Like if they just flip that, like I feel like they could be right where they were again. Like they can be like a top 10 offense and maybe a top 20 defense. So I'll take you to the other side. So you lose your top 2 snap count guys on the defensive line, the top snap count guy at linebacker, and the top 3 snap count guys at DB. Yeah. Like it's hard for me not to. And a couple of those dudes didn't just play a lot; they were pretty special talents, obviously, and they're going to go high in the draft.
Right.
I assume there's going to be some level of drop off of this defense.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, unless you're being total homer, glass half full, not half full, glass
at spill over the counter, you get the paper towels.
Unless you're that guy, of course you do. I mean, and you can hear it with the coaches. You lose Aiden Hutchinson and David Jabo, the best sack combo in Michigan history. You're not gonna to plan to have guys who step up and do that. I think it's setting yourself up for failure. I think you hope for that, but you figure out ways to compensate for that. So the new defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, he came in, he said, we got to figure out ways to manufacture pressure. So I think you're going to see Michigan be a more blitz-heavy team this year. I think you're going to see the linebackers especially more involved in the pass rush. And I think you're going to see it by committee. I think they have a number of guys up front who – showed flashes of playmaking ability last year. Are they going to be better this year? Yes. Are they going to be game wreckers? I mean, you can't predict that. So that's why you talk about the offense needing to be more explosive. They're going to have to score more points, I think. I think that's what you put on paper to give your defense some time to mature. And if they come up and become a team that can be a top 20 defense, great. But you got to prepare like they're not gonna be. And I think Michigan has the kind of offensive firepower to be able to compensate for what they lost defensively.
And of course, if you're blitzing more and you're maybe not quite as good on defense, that also means at times you are giving up maybe a couple more explosive scores, but you're getting the ball back to the offense quicker and letting the offense do its thing. Of those areas that we mentioned, where do you think they'll have the most success in replacing the dudes who are gone, and where do you think will be the biggest struggle?
So, defense, I think they'll have the best. They have the best chance of replacing the lost production in the secondary.
Okay.
Dax Hill was a fantastic talent, such a versatile chess piece in the secondary. He made the nickel basically be their base defense. He was strong in the box against the run. He was a devastating blitzer, and he could cover slots man to man. I mean, he was just that guy. You come in this year, and I think you have a safety contingent that, despite the loss of Brad Hawkins, I think is ready to step to the fore. Andre Moulton played a ton last year. Makari Page got his, he's a former 4-star guy, long, rangy, now experienced a little bit in the scheme, a little bit more in the scheme. Corner is where I think they'll take a step forward.
Okay.
Jamon Green, I think, is ready to build on last year. He had a great spring. DJ Turner came on about midway through the season, former IMG guy, and really locked down the other side the rest of the way. So you came back, I think, feeling better about your corner contingent than you went into last year with feeling. And then you add to it Will Johnson, 5-star All-American, comes in as an early enrollee, and they say he's really, really flashed. What are you going to do at the nickel position? This is where Mikey Sainristil comes in. And Mikey Sainristil was a physical receiver despite his size, like I said. But what they figure the strength of this switch is going to be for him is in man-to-man cover ability. They actually feel like, based on how he looked in the spring, where he might have been the defensive MVP of the spring. He was that good over the course of spring ball. They think in man-to-man cover ability, they don't think the drop-off is going to be that great. Now, I'm reserving judgment because while I think he certainly brings you great quickness and good speed, he knows the offense. He doesn't just know the offense like a defense does over the course of spring and fall camp playing against the other side, right? This is different. Like, he played offense. He played receiver and plays there still. He's a technician. It's like he knows what they're trying to do to him schematically. He knows the quarterback and receiver tendencies. So you wonder how much of that cheat code allowed him to be that playmaker game in and game out. We won't know that till the season rolls around. But again, secondary is where they have the best chance of not falling off, precipitously from where they were last year.
Awesome. So we're not lowering the expectations on this Michigan team, just kind of shifting around maybe what side of the ball will have to carry the greatest portion of the load. Last one for me, Sam. Really appreciate your time today. Is there any spot to you that is obvious that they need to go hunting in the portal following spring?
Yeah, they need to go hunting in the portal for some defensive tackle help for sure. They need some size up front. Mozzie Smith brings them 300 bills plus. They are definitely doing that in the portal now. That's a huge deal. I think they would like to add another corner just to get some experience depth back there. I mean, you can never have, in this day and age of college football, you can never have enough experience at corner. And Michigan saw that last year as they went, they wound up going to their third and fourth guys at times. And that's been the case over the last couple of years. So I think those two positions. But again, I think if you're them, they're feeling really comfortable about where they are defensively. You got some guys poised to step up, and offensively, but I'm telling you, man, as good as they were last year, they have all the ingredients to be more explosive. The running backs are going to be big play guys for sure. Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum are lights out. And then you mentioned the receivers. It boils down to me to, is Cade McNamara, does he take that next step as a downfield passer? Watching him last year, I felt like he was a really good guy at taking care of the football and moving the chains, of taking what the defense gave him for the most part, but was reluctant to challenge down the middle of the field versus zone. I think he's going to have to be able to do that. And then J.J. McCarthy, has he gotten that balance? Because he is a guy who can make huge plays with this athletic talent, sort of reining that in and taking what the defense gives him. Has he found that balance? I sort of thought we started to see that as a freshman, but he had limited snaps last year in this role. Whatever the quarterback dynamic is this year, he's going to have more snaps. Can he achieve that balance and not taking too much of a risk, but also in, taking acceptable risks, I think is the way I want to put it. You got to be able to challenge some. And I think J.J. McCarthy can do that. Can he do it within reason? No, that's the big challenge for him.
Absolutely, Sam. I really appreciate the time. Look at the schedule: Colorado State, Hawaii, UConn, Maryland, Iowa, Indiana. They're going to be damn near to Halloween by the time that defense is actually probably seriously tested through the air.
Yeah,
so you're going to have time to evaluate and figure out who can cover and who can't.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you might have a quarterback battle raging up to that point, because both guys are going to play. But when do you start to skew more one way than the other? I think it might not be until late in the season until you start seeing that.
I had McCarthy as my 14. We did a Heisman draft, and once you get past like the first 2 rounds, it's kind of just a total crapshoot. But I was like, there's a path for McCarthy. I took him with the 14th overall pick. I was like, yeah. What if he just improves enough to win the job outright? Like, that guy's got the talent. That's an if.
Yeah, I know, but I'm with you. To me, I think J.J. McCarthy's going to be the guy by the end of the season. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take games to sit down the quarterback who quarterbacked you to the Big Ten championship. It's hard for me to see a scenario, hard for me to see him overwhelm Cade so much that Cade is not, is sat down by game 1. Is it possible? Sure. I think JJ is that talented, but he would have to be completely lights out in fall camp to win the job outright heading into the fall. But whether it's the beginning of the season or the middle of the season, I think Michigan is undefeated, until well into the year. And I think they'll be undefeated at the point where they make the decision on who's going to be the guy the rest of the way. I don't think it'll take a loss to make that determination.
That's going to be fascinating. We'll be following all the details on the Michigan Insider with Sam Webb, the best Michigan guy in the game. Make sure you guys check it out. Tremendous VIP content over there as well. And check out the Michigan Insider family of podcasts. So an absolute great group. Really blessed to have those guys in our network. Sam, appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it, man.
All right, that's the bell. Cover 3 College Football Summer School is over for today. But don't worry. We'll be back soon with even more episodes filling you in on the top teams in college football. Please give us those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on YouTube and on Twitter at Cover 3 Podcast. And we'll see you all soon.